Hello everyone and welcome to What Culture Comics. I'm Josh, joined today by Ewan Patterson.
Hello Josh.
Because big things are happening in the industry. Marvel has just announced that it's completely changed its distribution rights. It recently had a deal with Diamond from 1997 until now, and now it's just signed to Penguin Random House to distribute all of their comics and graphic novels and trades and stuff like that going forward. I've heard this is a big thing, Ewan. I'm not going to pretend to know more than I do, and I want you to tell me what's going on, what's happening, and how this will change, the future of Marvel going forward.
Yeah, so this is massive. As people who don't read comics will not know, the direct market is a terrifying monolith of different things that is very difficult to it's a complex ordering system whereby retailers themselves actually order direct from, originally Diamond Distribution had the monopoly on everything. So to begin with, when the direct market started out in like the 70s and stuff, there were all sorts of different distributors. Then Diamond kind of was the WWE of like comics distributors and bought them all and absorbed them all. And we got to a position over the last couple of decades, where they basically had a monopoly on the entire direct market. And it wasn't great because there were lots of things about Diamond that weren't really fantastic, and one of the big things that retailers found particularly frustrating in regards to the way Diamond worked with both DC and Marvel was, there were incentives to order loads of product or whatever, and given that the direct market, it was non-returnable, you couldn't return excess stock. It was basically like they were gambling every single month to decide, and measure how much of a given product you would get from each comic. Last year, in the wake of the ongoing pandemic, DC cut ties with Diamond and shifted to their own distribution model, although I will say that internationally they are still using Diamond. In the US they switched to a different distribution arm. But yeah, just today Marvel has announced that they too are splitting from Diamond Distribution and are now going with Penguin Random House. And Penguin are one of the, if not the biggest, I think they are the biggest publisher on the planet currently.
Yeah.
They're absolutely massive. They have a gigantic publishing arm that, stretches far and wide into all sorts of different things. And this is massive because no longer does it mean that retailers themselves will now have to go through Diamond to get Marvel stock. The report that I've seen here from Newsarama, who are now part of Games Radar, does mention that retailers can still use Diamond, but Diamond won't be the main distributor of the stock now. There'll be a wholesaler that you then go through to then get to Penguin, although I'm not currently certain right now. I don't think that comics retailers will have to actually use Diamond to do that in the United States especially. I don't know how this is going to work internationally, but for the time being, Diamond's relationship with Marvel and DC has been completely blown asunder in the space of, 8 to 10 months. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, was this like something then, you mentioned the split with DC previously. Was this something that has like come out of nowhere, or was it something that has been built to for a while, like this big split between specifically Marvel and Diamond?
I didn't think there were any kind of indications that Marvel were going to kind of part ways with Diamond. There's been lots of talk over the last, God knows how many years about the direct market and its failings and how comics publishers aren't getting their products into the hands of people who maybe aren't part of that core audience. So, frequent comic book shops specifically, making sure we get them into the arms of people in, bookstores and more traditional kind of venues like that. So it's not really been something that's been teased out. Diamonds still have a massive reach globally, but in terms of people thinking that the Marvel and DC and that kind of needing to spread their wings and make sure that their products are going elsewhere and making sure there is a catered kind of wing towards that has been kind of coming out for a while now. And at the end of the day, I will just say it's a good thing to not have a monopoly situation like it's been the case for so long. Diamond literally had, I'm not going to call it a stranglehold because that sounds too supervillain-esque, but they did have, they were the direct market for all intents and purposes. And the fact that there is more competition now will hopefully mean that retailers, even though they will have to have different steps to take in order to get, comics and whatever, and trade paperbacks and the collected editions of comics, they'll have more steps to go through there. Hopefully it will lead to a fairer system and, something where they'll get more value for money.
That sounds, it sounds promising as someone, like I said, on the outside who doesn't know too much about it, especially, obviously in the situation we're in with, stores across the world, shutting down, having to rely on online offerings and stuff like that. And hopefully, like, going forward, this will, like you say, like, get rid of that monopoly that had quote-unquote a stranglehold on the thing and kind of like free it up
I
for...
didn't say stranglehold, I said I was going to say. You can't quote me. What a J. Jonah Jameson, J. Brown tactic that was.
That's the level of journalism, journalistic integrity you get from me in this video. I've become JJJ. But no, it does sound like it's like freeing things up and ultimately we'll be healthier, like, you know, going forward and stuff. It sounds like a promising thing.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, well, we've got a statement here from both Marvel and Penguin. So
cool.
Dan Buckley mentioned here in his statement that Marvel's entire history is built on telling great stories. This is the fluffy PR statement. And as we've seen for decades, those stories go hand in hand with equipping the comic shops who share them. Marvel and Penguin Random House stand by that vision, and we are excited to build and expand those opportunities for our talent, retailers, and fans. Now, one thing that I am curious about in regards to Marvel specifically, obviously getting, parting ways with Diamond, I do kind of wonder what's going to happen with the smaller kind of comics publishers, because you got to remember here that Marvel and DC by far represent the vast majority of the market share of comics. I think Marvel averages about a 30 to 40% average, and DC isn't quite far behind. And the next one after them is like Image or Dark Horse, with I think like kind of 5-ish, 6-ish% kind of as an average. And they still use Diamond, Image, and Dark Horse and such. So I am curious to see maybe, if any other people any other publishers follow suit, and how Diamond are going to adapt here, because they have taken a big old walloping over the last year in particular.
That's what I was going to ask, like, what is the longevity of Diamond going forward? Because you mentioned that even though they split with DC, internationally Diamond is still used. They've obviously still got a place in this thing. They just don't have the the monopoly on it like they did before. Like, is there still a future in this space for Diamond to continue to distribute, continue to publish, and stuff like that, act as a seller, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult question to answer because there are so many different variables that you have to take into account with, international markets and such. I believe DC did briefly not use Diamond UK after their own switch with, after they left Diamond last year domestically, but then switched back to Diamond UK after the costs of, going through the different distributors proved to be a little bit more expensive. And I'm sure there are all sorts of other things that are going to factor into that, but certainly given, that the United States is the biggest comics market globally, this is still significant. And Diamond, it could be the case that retailers will want to continue their relationship with Diamond and continue business with them as wholesalers to get Marvel stuff, but I am curious to see whether or not they're able to bypass that stage altogether, and if they will want to, because there has been talk for a while now that people are not particularly happy with, the business that Diamond has been providing. So again, just reiterate, it's a good thing that, there is going to be more competition here, and hopefully retailers will get better value for, their money.
100%. I'm sure there's going to be way more discussions and fallout coming out in the hours and days that follow this news. But for now, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about the future of distribution in comics? What do you think about Marvel splitting from Diamond after so long, and the industry in general seemingly moving away from this monopolistic structure? Let us know down there. And while you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to What Culture Comics? It's the end of the day, I'm sorry, for more great news and lists like this every single day. Even if you don't know, I've been Josh. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Brune with 2 O's, joined by Ewan Patterson, who you can follow on Twitter at
Ewan Ruins Things, and that was perfectly executed, Josh. It's
Thank
not the
you.
end of the day. I could tell it's the end of the day.
You couldn't tell. As long as you can't tell. As long as I fooled you, that's the most important thing. But yeah, bye.